What is going on, fishy friends? We are almost done for the night. We are moving down to Florida, Central Florida, East Coast. We'll get Jamie to tell me whether I said that correctly in just a second. But let's not hesitate. Let's just jump right into it and bring in Captain Jamie. Did I say it right? Is it Central Florida, East Coast, or is it East Coast?
Central East Coast of Florida, tomato, but yeah, you're pretty close.
Man, I'm loving that hat.
Thanks, buddy.
Can I get a close-up of that? That's a new one, isn't it?
Yeah, man, we just got a bunch of new stuff in.
Is that one of those hats with the removable patch? Have you seen those?
Yeah.
They have like a Velcro patch on them?
It's sewed on there.
It's sewn on there, but it's cool looking, man.
Thanks, buddy.
And the dog on there is your pet that you had for a long time that you lost recently, right?
Correct, man. That is correct.
Brother, I'll tell you about that. I think I told you when it happened. It's like, if dogs live forever, I honestly don't think I'd hang out with people. I don't. They're always there for you. They're like as loyal as they possibly, like more loyal than anything. And all they want is love all the time. It's just,
and not to mention, she was, just like many other people's pets, she was my good luck charm when it came to fishing. So.
Oh, they love fishing too. I mean, I used to have a dog that would like, I would catch catfish on the bank in Georgia and just pitch him the catfish, and he would eat the whole thing, head and all. And you could hear him as a Rottweiler sitting back there. You'd hear it when he ate the head because you'd hear it go crunch, and he just eat it whole and never got sick. But he probably would sit and eat 6 or 7 catfish in a day, no problem.
Crazy.
It was a monster. Got a couple people chiming in. What's going on, David? Rodney, how are you guys? Real quick, before we go into the 2-minute bite, question of the night is something I think would work pretty well in Florida. We got 2 packs of 3.75-inch hammers in smoke and shiner color. I can never get this camera right what direction to do things. But what do you think, Jamie? You get catch some fish on that?
Is it a paddle tail? Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a paddle tail.
Yeah, that's what we use, like for soft plastics, that or jerk baits.
I mean, if you're on a desert island and you get one bait to choose, what angler is not going to choose if it's artificial, what angler is not going to choose a paddle tail? I mean,
yeah, it's pretty go-to bait for just about any type of fishing.
Catches everything. Rodney, questions are already rolling in. See, Rodney asked. We'll do Rodney's question, and then we'll go into the 2-minute bite. He says, "Do you have a lucky fishing hat, Jamie?"
I do. If you want, I'll hold it up and you can smell it. That's why it's so lucky.
Because you put in some perspiration hours in that thing.
I have one hat I wear in almost every charter, and then I'll switch it out and put another hat on when I'm done fishing that day. And I'm always like, "Oh my God, I can't believe I wore that hat today."
Oh, and that's the reason why you didn't catch, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, you had a trip today, right?
We did. We had a trip today. We've been fishing almost every day, to be honest with you, probably since the last show.
I don't want to spoil it because the 2-minute bite will probably include that. But let's do the 2-minute bite, which will include the fish that's been biting the most, what you've been using, and what the technique has been.
Sure. Right now, man, the sheep's head are still spawning. The bite's really good. It's been pretty rough. Anything out past the jetties, like out in the ocean. We've had a few days we've gotten out there, but right now the sheep's head bite is like smack on. So just using jig heads or using like a Carolina style rig with a short leader, like an octopus or a J hook for the sheep's head. We use circle hooks 90% of the time when we're fishing for redfish or snook. But when we're fishing for these sheep's head, you want kind of a straight shanked hook. So Their mouths, they have like, a lot of, I don't really know what the name of them, but they look like molars all inside their mouth, and you got to jam that hook up in there. So we use straight hooks or a jig head with like, long shank straight hook on it.
And what do you put on it? Sand fleas or shrimp or what?
Still, sand fleas are so hard to come by for us, man. It's we had a bad king tide last spring, and we lost most of our sand flea population. They're there, but they're small, and it's almost not worth using them. So we've had some slightly warmer temperatures, so the fiddler crabs have been coming out, and the harvesters have been catching them and selling them to the bait shops. And usually, two fiddler crabs, and then a piece of fish bites, like that artificial. It's like an artificial type bait, and that comes in a sand flea flavor. So I'll use a little piece of that, two fiddler crabs, and then if you miss this, you get two good bites and you miss them, they'll come back a third time for that piece of fish bites, and it gives you 3 shots with dropping down one bait.
Because it's really easy to miss on sheep's head, right?
Yeah, man. Again, they call them convicts. They're black and white striped, and they will just rob you left and right. It's crazy.
Now, do they get you frequently, or is it more something like to get people that you bring on the boat because they don't know the routine?
I mean, they get me too, man. It's frustrating, and it's the worst when you drop it down there. You don't even feel nothing. You're like, let me check my bait, and both your fiddler crabs are gone. You're like,
Wow.
how's that possible? But in my experience, the biggest fish bite the lightest. It's the weirdest thing.
Okay.
Them little fish.
Well, they got that big for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. The little ones will hammer it. And you're like, oh, I got a good one. And you reel it in, and he's a short niche. And then all of a sudden, you go to check your bait, and you got a 8-9 pounder on. You're like, holy crap! So,
well, I'm not sure if I've ever caught one, but I hear I know they're great eating.
amazing.
I hear they put up a pretty good fight pound for pound, right?
Yes, they do. They like to live in the under structure and in these little rock holes, and they don't like to leave their little comfort zone. So you get them out, and they're trying everything they can to get back.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Tyler says, a guide is worth his salt when he has a sunglass tan line like that. Yeah. Captain Jamie puts in the work, brother. This guy, not to blow your head up or anything, but he lives and breathes fishing. He owns a tackle shop. He runs 2 boats now, right? 3?
Yeah.
3 charter boats. And you run at least 1 magazine, right?
Correct. Yep.
Let's talk about, real quick, let's just do some shameless plugging. Let's talk about the tackle shop first, and then the magazine.
Tackle shop's going great. We've actually been open for almost a year. We did an official grand opening this past Saturday on March 4th. Again, there's a boat ramp right out front of our front door, just 50 yards away, and it was closed for remodeling. It's a county-owned boat ramp and park, and so just to let the community know, the ramp's open, the shop's open. We did a big official grand opening. We had a free kids fishing tournament. Had different companies there, like demoing product and stuff like that. I had a boat, like a flat skiff company, come and bring their skiffs and let people do demo rides on them. And then we just had like free hot dogs and hamburgers. We had a great turnout. It was really cool. And then as far as the magazine goes, we've grown it. We've doubled the thickness of it. It's a franchise.
So real quick, the tackle shop is Yellow Dawg Tackle Shop, right?
It's Yellow Dawg Bait and Tackle.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the franchise, the magazine is called?
That's called Coastal Angler Magazine. The closest one currently to you all up there would be, I think Virginia Beach has one, has a franchise there. It's a national magazine. It's actually the nation's largest fishing publication. It's super cool. You guys can look them up online, Facebook, Coastal Angler Magazine, and you can subscribe to the e-magazine. They'll email it to you, and you just flip through it on your phone like you had the magazine in your hands. And they have a video magazine edition and stuff like that too. It's got a lot of great content, fishing tricks and tips, and you can go to different regions and stuff like that. But nonetheless, I bought the local franchise in our area just so I could be pretty dialed in the community. Got a big voice in the fishing community now, obviously, to advertise our businesses in there. and try and do some positive things with fishing in the area.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I have full confidence that you definitely will. Back to fishing. So we talked about convicts or sheephead. I say sheep's head, man. Some people say sheephead. Which one is it?
I don't know. It depends on how many beers I had and what I called them. But sheep's head, sheep's head, sheephead. Uh,
Sheephead.
yeah, I call
Sheephead
them
just
sheep's head.
sounds better,
Yeah,
huh?
well, I call them sheep's head with an S. Sheep's head.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've heard them called sheephead.
yeah. The good old boys call them that.
Okay, okay. Trying to figure out, which one, which way to call
Guess if you
them.
caught one, you would call it a sheep head, and if you caught a bunch of them, you call it sheep's head.
All right, that makes sense. Other than the sheepheads, I don't know, whatever. The convicts. What are you guys catching down there? If the
Uh,
wind is keeping you inshore, is there a flounder bite going on? Is there redfish?
it's kind of early for our flounder bite, but I've been getting some studs like two 24-inch flounder lately. Not a lot of them, but the ones we're catching are big, like
Big,
real big.
big
For
doormats.
for, for Florida, they're big. I know they get to me. I feel like they get a little bit bigger up by y'all, but and even in the Carolinas. But the last few that we've gotten have been both right at like 24 inches.
And have they been bycatch
Yeah,
with when fishing uh, for the convicts?
correct. Yep, because we're fishing right on the edge of the rock piles in the sand, and they're laying right there in that little sandy bottom close to the rocks. So,
Man, can you get better table fare than catching sheep's head and then the bycatch being flounder? I mean,
yeah,
you
yeah,
get do you get mangrove snappers mixed in that too?
we have been. We've been getting some nice ones. Yeah,
I mean, that's literally like these some of the three best tasting fish that you can possibly get.
yeah. Not my customers every day this week. Everybody's been, we've been fishing. We call it hook and cook. I leave from a restaurant. The marina's at a restaurant. We fished, flay it up, and they go right in there and get it cooked up. And I'd love to say that I get sick of eating fish, but they always invite me in there, and I got to stop in and get a little bit for myself.
Well, I got an offer to make you. If you want to move back closer to home, you can come live my life, run the show, work on boats, and go fishing whenever you want. You don't have to run the charters. I'll do all that for you. We can just swap lives.
I ain't far from taking you up on that, man. I've been getting my butt kicked. It's everything's early this year. The no, the
Yeah,
water's about 10 degrees warmer than it typically is this time of the year. So everything's like in fast forward all of a sudden. Even just the sunburn is like, hey, I'm not supposed
yeah.
to get sunburn in the beginning of March already. But
We've been talking to all of our guys in Florida, and like they're like, man, it's hot. They're not used to.
yeah,
It's 90 degrees down there in Cape Coral the other day, and you know, that's crazy.
we've been in the mid to high 80s most every day.
Hmm.
Um, but no, as far as other things that are biting, real quick, on the days that we can get offshore, we've had a really good lane snapper bite, which
Hmm.
are one of the smaller snappers, but they're excellent to eat. They're like super pretty, like yellow, orange,
Beautiful.
red.
Yeah.
And the ones that we've been catching, I don't know what's going on. They're like on steroids. They're
Jeez.
they're 17 to 22, 24-inch fish. And when we've been getting on them, it's like one after another. So we've been doing pretty good with those on the few days that we can get out and bottom fish. And then any day now, then as soon as we get some flat, calm days, we'll be switching gears and going on the cobia hunts. Our fish migrate through fast. They come from the south, headed north, and to make it up to the Carolinas. The Bay Bridge Tunnel there in Chesapeake Bay.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and I didn't even really realize it, but guys are catching them as far north as like Long Island now.
Wow.
One of my shop employees, he shared with me that right before he moved down, he had caught a 62-pounder on his kayak. It pulled him 2 miles along the beach. He had to call his wife to come pick him up from the next town down with the vehicle because he wasn't carrying the fish in the kayak
In
back to him.
Long Island?
Yeah, and the northern tip of Long Island.
That's crazy.
They get up there on the bunker pods, I guess, like the bait pods up there, bunker.
Yeah.
But I'll show you guys a couple things that we use for cobia. We like paddle tails basically, but they're like long. long
Mhm.
paddle tails. This one's probably about probably more like 8 inches long. And then we'll
What would
use,
you put, like a 1 ounce jig head on that?
yep, correct. Actually, like an ounce and a half,
Okay. I was just about to say no live bait needed
Yeah,
because they have that ability to make everything. I mean, it sells the angler big time
yeah,
because it looks so seamless in the transition between the jig head and the bait.
it does. And they got a pretty cool little screw system for you to get that on there versus trying to get it over like a tab or a hook.
Yeah.
And it makes it hard for the bait to slide back off of it, so it stays on there pretty good. And then same thing a lot of the guys do up on the bay. We'll throw bucktails. I like greens and yellows. Some guys like whites and purples. Greens and yellows always seem to do the best. If you can get like Berkeley makes like this, like the gulp basically, but they have an eel. I like putting those on there. And even to take a step farther, I'll tip my bucktail jigs with a little piece of squid. Reason being, if the fish are being finicky, swimming up to your baits, nosing it, and turning it off, you got the squid on there, it almost always gets a bite because they smell it and they're like, all right,
Smell
I'll
it.
eat it. Yep.
Are there triple tail around right now? I think the last time we talked, there was some triple tail in it.
Yeah.
Don't the triple tail and cobia kind of hang in the same groups
Mm,
at times?
well, no, because the cobia are migrating. The triple tail
Okay.
like to hang around some sort of structure for the most
Right.
part. You will. I mean, we got a really good one last year. We were running looking for cobia, and I thought it was a piece of trash floating. I slowed down. It was like a 25, 26 inch triple tail just floating because they'll float on their side. They look like a boot. I remember when I was first fishing for them, somebody saying, "Look for a floating boot," and that's what they look like, a floating boot.
Boot? Like
A
what you wear
boot,
on your
like
foot?
a shoe. Yeah, boot. Yeah, that's what they look like. Um, but
They
anyway,
do not win beauty contests. Some people may think they do.
uh,
That is one ugly fish.
and if you get so lucky to catch one, and it's a good one, even the small ones, cut the cheeks of them out. They have like it's about the size of a scallop, like their cheek meat, and you know, I'll catch them and I'll save all the cheeks and then cook it like it's scallops, and they'll be just little round chunks, and
People
it's
say the
so.
same thing about snakehead up here, where you're from. That
Hmm,
the cheeks are really good.
I didn't. I've honestly never caught a snakehead, man.
Well, I think you were probably fishing in Florida, you know, around the time when they started to happen up here. And I
Yeah,
would imagine when you come back to Dundalk, it's all family all the time. You don't
yeah.
get into.
Well, yeah, that we always make time to go crabbing at least once, man. I miss my pastime of running a trout line and catching some crabs. But we fish. I'll fish out of Middle River a lot. My brother keeps his boat down there, and then he's also got a place down the Eastern Shore, like not far from Cape Charles, and we'll fish out of there for the
Oh,
trophy.
it's a great place. All these fish we're talking about tonight, except for maybe triple tail. Well, actually, a lot of them you can't catch, but the flounder you can get. You can get the sheep's head there in Cape Charles. You can get cobia, depending on the time of year, but that's awesome. So why don't when I first lived in Maryland, I was like, oh, the blue crabs are huge up here. Um, and then I went fishing in Florida a lot, and there's blue crabs down there as well. Why does nobody ever really trot line for blue crabs
It's
in
funny
Florida?
you say that. For years, I've been saying I'm going to try it, and I've never done it. Up where my shop is, it seems to be like a great area for it. It's not too deep, not too much current. And I'm gonna rig my flat skip up with a roller on the side of it and give it a try. I have like I sell like the pool net crab traps, like the cloth, double ones that
Yeah,
collapse. I sell those. I sell crabbing nets, crabbing line. People are crabbing off the dock with hand lines. I'm certain it would work, but I've just never seen anybody try it.
I guarantee you it would work. It may be like a cultural thing. It's just something that's kind of ingrained up here.
Yeah.
Um, but it's kind of like when I talk about using largemouth bass tackle to catch stripers.
Yeah.
There's no reason why it wouldn't work. It's just people don't do it for whatever reason.
Yeah, creatures of habit, I guess, or something like that. But
I'm sure it would work if you use I don't know, what do you guys have down there? Your version of razor clams.
we really don't have a lot of clams like that. We do have like little neck clams in certain parts of the lagoon south of me, but we have like our local oysters, which aren't necessarily good to eat. There's just more there for the filter water and whatnot. And I think a lot of that has to do with the water temperature always being so high and bacteria levels in there that you just don't eat them. And we don't have like mussels that much. Like you don't see mussels on the
Yeah, that's a more of a northern thing.
yeah. So we just don't have the razor clams like they have up north.
Probably chicken necks you could use for trout lining.
I just ordered a case of chicken necks from the grocery store the other day.
All right. Well, let's by the next time we do a report, let's see if you've done some trout lining.
All right.
Does anyone want to challenge Rodney's lucky fishing cat question for question of the night? I mean, we got about 1 or 2 minutes, and we've got a guy that lives and breathes fishing, can probably answer any question that you have for him. What while we're giving them time to ask questions, what do you what are you looking forward to this year for Yellow Dog? Are you guys gonna maybe target a different kind of species? Anything that you're gonna really focus on this year?
Uh, Two things. We're probably going to add even a bigger boat. We got a 30-foot center console now. We're looking at adding a 35-foot center console with triple power, so we can go a little bit farther. Our Gulf Stream is a 42-mile run, about 7 miles wide. So by the time you get to the other side of it, we call it the other side trips. You're 50 miles out. You're in 600 plus feet of water most of the time, and you can go even farther to the ledge where it drops off 1,200 to 1,400 feet of water. Out there you can get marlin, you can deep drop, you can catch swordfish out there.
You guys get lots of tuna, false albacore, that kind of thing, right?
Correct. Yellowfins are out there, so we'll be able to have more range and offer some more hardcore offshore stuff. And then lastly, in August we're expecting a baby boy, so pretty excited about that. That's going to be a big thing for us this year.
Congrats. That's awesome, dude. Congratulations. Well, Rodney, I believe you are the de facto. We had 12, 13 people in here at one point, but they just wanted to listen and not ask questions. So Rodney, we'll send you the packs of old school for the fishing cat question. And I think that's all we got. I can't trump, you having a baby boy coming and later on this year. So I think that's a great time to end it. You got any names picked out yet? You don't have to share them.
Yeah, we do. I'm happy to share. Drayton, Drayton. We're gonna call him Dre.
What is it again? DR what?
Drayton. Drayton.
Drayton.
But we're gonna call him Dre. And if he's a doctor, he'll be Dr. Dre.
He'll be a fisherman. Come on, dude. Oh no, all the questions came in again. This is the second time this has happened. I'm like, why is everyone so quiet? And then right at the end of the show, 8 questions roll. Like these aren't like, it's not that people waited till the end. It's that the browser didn't load it kept them all in a bunch and then let them go. So you got a couple minutes to answer some questions.
Sure.
And Rodney, you're getting a prize regardless, but I'm going to let these other questions count towards question of the night, and then you can pick one. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
We'll do speed round. Let's see. We got Anthony asked, when do you start using artificial shrimp?
So I don't use a lot of artificial shrimp when I'm fishing like the inlet or things of that nature. People do use them. I'll use artificial shrimp in the wintertime when the redfish are schooled up in the shallow waters in the flats. It's when I mostly will use artificial shrimp.
All right. And we got, Rodney also asked, what is your favorite fish to eat that you catch?
Triple tail.
Tyler, we're going to fly through these questions, guys. I don't want to keep him here all night. Can you tell us more about your favorite rod or reel combo for sheepshead? Also, what leader do you recommend when you are targeting them in heavy structure?
I'll use like a 7-foot medium action or medium heavy because I want a stiff rod that I can feel every little bite with. 4000 series reel is typically what I use across the board, other than going, casting like cobia or like focusing strictly on big bull redfish, and I'll jump up to a 6000. And as far as leader goes, I like to use 15-pound leader for sheep's head because you're fishing in the rocks. And if I'm going to keep getting stuck in the rocks, I don't want to lose my lead. I'd rather break break the hook off and keep my swivel on my lead rather than, being worried about losing a bigger fish and jumping up to, say, 30-pound leader. And then when I do get snagged, and you're going to get snagged, you're going to lose everything. And then you're, tying more knots than you need to and losing money.
Yeah, I mean that is the bottom line when you're running. You got gas and you got tackle, right? You don't want to lose too much when you're guiding a trip. Tyler asks, do you fish with live eels or jigs for cobia in Florida?
So, no, we don't. And when we fish up on the bay, we do. You can't buy eels at like a bait shop. I've asked every wholesaler that I buy from my at my bait shop, like, hey, can you get me eels? And they all just look at me with four eyes. It's just not a bait that they have access to down here like they do up north. However, we have a pond on our property and it's got freshwater eels on it. And last year, a YouTuber I know was out there and he had some eels in his pond and he took them and tried them. And he said it was like crack.
Did the eels live in the? I mean, were they staying alive long enough to?
So he had them in a bucket with fresh water and an aerator, so they were fine.
No, but once you put them in the salt water, were they able to survive long enough?
They swam around for, say a minute or so before they would, pretty much kick the bucket. But long enough, if you had a good cast, that cobia seen it and came right after it. So
I mean, got it. Robert Figliozzi asks, do you ever pay the tax man while catching certain fish?
More often than I'd like to. Most times it's usually bottom fishing on the reef. And, what'll happen is they won't get the first couple, but once they kind of notice fish going up towards the surface and pulling back down and up and then back down, they'll come up off the bottom and just start circling around under the boat. Actually, one of the last offshore trips we ran, we were probably 12 miles out, came in at 5 miles. It's artificial reef, and there was a guy out there on a john boat fishing, and it was calm, but I still wouldn't recommend going offshore in a john boat, right? Well, I was trying to figure out what he was doing. He was doing like figure eights in his boat, and he was standing up on his bow, and he had a knife in his hand. I'm like, this guy's going to knock himself off the boat. And finally, he leaned over and cut his anchor line, and as soon as he did it, the boat stopped, and I realized his motor wasn't on. He said that he was pulling up his anchor line and about an 8-foot shark grabbed his anchor and was pulling him around like almost on plane in this john boat. So the tax man is out there.
Dude, that would have been awesome. If you had known, you would have gotten your phone out and recorded that.
I just thought he was drunk doing circles in his boat.
That's an awesome story, dude.
Yeah.
We got one more question from Tyler, who asks, can you tell us more about your favorite? Oh, wait. He already has that one. I think he probably just cut and pasted it because he didn't think I was seeing the questions. And Tyler, I didn't see the questions because they all, like 80% of the comments for the whole show came in at like the very last second. So Rodney's definitely going to get a prize, but we'll give out a second prize to an additional question of the night that you thought was worthy, Jamie.
I think Tyler with the rod and reel combo question.
Cool.
A lot of people ask what to use as far as tackle or bait, and then that's fine and dandy. But if you don't have the right setup, it's it all works as a system. So, I think asking about rod and reel and setup is pretty important.
Well, Tyler, you won earlier tonight from the South Carolina trip, show. So send us your address at admin@thefishingchannel.net. I'll put that in the chat real quick. And you'll just get a mystery second prize thrown in. It'll probably be something from either Old School or BKD. Also, Tyler, tell us where you live, because that'll give us a good indication. I'm not going to send you a 12-inch BKD if you live in Florida and you fish inshore for trout, redfish, and flounder. So tell us where you live, and that'll give me an idea of what to send you. But Jamie, as always, you knocked it out of the park. I'm so happy for you and your family.
Thanks, man.
Having a little one on the way. Any last words you want to share with us before we close out?
No, same as usual. The weather's about to turn good, especially up by y'all. So don't procrastinate. Get out there and start casting and catch some fish.
Yes, sir. We sure will, man. Everyone, thanks so much for all the questions. Sorry it took me a second to get to them. I honestly didn't get to them. I didn't get them until about 8:25. So I don't know what's up. I'll check the tech issues. But thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jamie, and we'll see you guys next time.
Take it easy, man. Have a good night.
You too.